Hello, everyone. Miss Monica from the Howard County Library System, the Glenwood branch. I'm here for another fun episode of STEAM Saturday. This is our bi-weekly class where we learn about science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. And we have another fun class today for you. I just want to remind you that this class is pre-recorded. So if you need to pause it at any time or you want to rewatch it, you are more than welcome to do that. So I also wanted to thank Miss Christy, who is behind the scenes helping with this class today. I really appreciate her help. We are going to do a fun activity while we learn about STEAM today. And we're going to talk a little bit about a fun subject as well. So I want to remind you, if you see me using anything that you do not have at home, you can totally just use something else, whatever you have, substitute something, that is absolutely fine. But I think you'll find this project today uses things that you have around the home. So we are going to start with, we did this last week, we talked about, or 2 weeks ago rather, sorry, we talked about lighthouses and we learned about the International Maritime Signal Flags. Those are used to communicate on the oceans and seas and waterways. So I'm going to introduce today's class using the Maritime Signal Flags. So if you want to pause and look these up, they're behind me as well. Or if you know these, I'm really impressed. Are you ready? So I'm going to give you the first letter. And the first letter, this is the flag for, does anybody know? The letter B, which also they say bravo, B, bravo. So the first letter in our topic today is B. Then we have this pretty flag, O for Oscar. That's how they say it, O, Oscar. Then we have A, they say A, alpha. Ready for the next one? Another pretty one, T, tango. So we have B-O-A-T. You know what that stands? And we have S, Sierra. And that spells, you got it, boats. So we're going to talk today a little bit about boats and ships, which are really exciting. I recently went to the Inner Harbor in Baltimore and I saw lots of different boats and ships. And I thought it would be kind of fun to teach you a little bit about the different boats and ships. Boats and ships are super important in our lives. They carry things to our ports. They help people go different places. They help maintain, they fish for our seafood. They do lots and lots of different things. Manage our waters. If you've ever been on a cruise ship, that's a great way to utilize a ship. So lots of different uses for ships, but they also are, to me, engineering marvels. I can't imagine building something so large that stays afloat, but engineers do that. So, and boat builders and ship builders. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share my screen so that you can see some of the pictures that I took and we can talk about boats. Are you ready? Awesome. Give me just one moment. I'm going to get this up. Here we go. There we go. Sorry, a little technical difficulty. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this first picture is a water taxi in Baltimore, Maryland. So that is actually my son, and we were waiting to load one of the water taxis. If you haven't had a chance to do this before, I highly recommend it. We had so much fun taking the water taxi around the harbor. It actually wasn't a busy day on the harbor or on the water taxi, so it was just us and the driver, and he really helped us out to take some great pictures and see all the sights. So this first one, does anybody know what type of ships these are? These are really important ships. These are container ships. These are what bring our things from international waters into our ports, and then they take the big containers, if you've ever seen them on the highway. They take them on trucks and they deliver them all throughout the United States. So we're in Maryland and we are right by the Atlantic Ocean. So we get our goods pretty quickly off of these container or cargo, sometimes people call them cargo ships. Other places, if you lived in Nebraska or Ohio or someplace that wasn't as close to the Atlantic, they would have to go either through other rivers or trucks and things and get their goods. So those are container ships. They're kind of cool. You can see the cranes on those on the dock that load those big containers on and off of the ships. They're pretty neat. Actually, as we were going by here, we saw some people that were working and they waved to us, which was kind of neat. So next, which was right next to the big cargo ship, was a tugboat, and tugboats are used to push or pull bigger ships into harbors or smaller waterways. So if you've ever seen one of those in use, they're really neat. It's like this little teeny ship or boat, and it helps a big, huge ship. So it's kind of neat. And then moving on to smaller boats, we have sailboats in the harbor. The day that I was there, it was a really pretty day. Even though it was a little cloudy, it was a gorgeous, gorgeous day. And there was lots of people sailing around the harbor. I even saw kids actually learning how to sail at the sailing school, which was kind of neat. So sometimes you'll see the sails up on a sailboat and sometimes you won't. They all usually have engines on board, except the really, really small sailboats. But sailboats like this do have an engine, so it helps them to move along if there's not a lot of wind or they just choose not to put the sails. But you'll see the mast. This one actually has a flag on the mast as well, which is really pretty. I'd really like to learn how to sail one day. Maybe you will too. So this was a fun find when we were puttering around on the water taxi. This is Mr. Trash Wheel. If you see him from the front, he's got like kind of eyes. Has anybody ever seen Mr. Trash Wheel? Mr. Trash Wheel to me is an example of steam in action. A gentleman saw that there was a lot of trash in the harbor and coming down from the tributaries, the rivers that feed into the inner harbor, and he came up with a prototype of Mr. Trash Wheel. They loved the idea. They created one. I think this is the first one that you see right there. And it helps to collect. It uses the water wheel, if you see on the right side, to generate a like a ramp that picks up the trash and then puts it in the garbage containers right there. And then they load those to either recycling plants or landfills. So that's really a great way to keep our waters clean. If you go back on YouTube, we did a class on plastics in the ocean and why plastic bottles and plastic are really bad to be in the ocean, and things that are in the Baltimore or the inner harbor actually do go through the Chesapeake and then they go out to the Atlantic Ocean. So it's our responsibility here in Maryland to make sure that the Chesapeake and the inner harbor is clean and trash free. So if you have some time, I could probably do a whole class on Mr. Trash Wheel, but look Mr. Trash Wheel up. There's some really cool videos on how that works. And just to me, like I said, it's an engineering marvel. You can also see on the back of that one, it uses solar panel energy. So all ships and boats have names. It's actually a really neat thing for the captain or the owner of the boat to name their boat. This is Century Bright. That's that big cargo ship, container ship that we saw, and that's the name of this ship. I know a lot of people that have smaller sailboats and things, they enjoy naming them as well. So next time you see a ship or boat, see if you can see what the name of that vessel is. These are, again, some working ships. You can see the cranes a little better. Those actually cranes might be on the ship. I can't tell if it's on the dock or on the ship, but that's kind of neat. And then the one on the right is a barge with a crane on top. They're used to, like I said, load cargo on and off ships. The cranes are also used to build bridges and work on the oceans as well, oil rigs and things like that. The one on the right, I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually kind of cool. The side of the barge is lined with old car tires, and that helps it so that it doesn't bump into the dock or other things. I thought that was kind of neat. This is a yacht. This is a fancy type of boat. It's probably privately owned. There was actually right on this part of the harbor, there was a lot of privately owned recreation boats that people own, and some people travel. I actually have a friend who traveled the world as a teenager. She did school on the boat, and she traveled all around in a boat like this with her parents and just saw the whole world, which is really neat and cool. I'd like to do that. So then there's also in the harbor, there's lots of small boats as well. You'll see a sailboat in the back. I actually think that's from the sail school. You'll see another example of a water taxi. And then there's also just some smaller boats that people use probably for fishing, for recreational fishing, not commercial fishing. There are different boats for both purposes. So pretty neat. So, so some ships, even big ones, sink. Sometimes they run aground on a rock or an iceberg, or they just for some reason have a hole in them. And then water gets in them and they sink. Sometimes they're just older, especially older ships were made out of wood and that rot sometimes. This is actually by the Baltimore Museum of Industry. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's a great place to look out to the harbor and see all the ships. But this is one that is there that's on its way to sinking. Unfortunately, it's a pretty ship. So last but not least, there's one thing you don't want to forget when traveling on a boat. Does anybody know? A life vest. You're right. You want to make sure that you are wearing one of those and you're keeping safe when you're on the water. So those are a lot of examples of different boats and ships. And those are examples that are right here in Maryland, in the harbor in Baltimore. So I hope you can plan a trip this summer and make your own summer memories and summer tales about, because summer reading is tales and tales, about the different ships on the harbor. It's neat to think of where they're going or where they've been and what their purpose is on the harbor or in the harbor and what they're doing. So I would like to explore a little bit with you about making your own boats at home, and you can pretend that you have your own harbor if you would like. To start with, I'm going to show you some of the things that you're going to need. This is really stuff that you should have at home. Like I said, if you don't have something, just substitute something else. That's absolutely fine. I have some tools. I have scissors. My younger viewers on some of this stuff, definitely get your grown-ups help, okay? I have a hole punch. I have some sponges. These are new at your house or even the old one, just ask your grown-ups, it's okay to use them. I've got some duct tape. I've got a pen. I've got some paper. And then I have some straws here. But then what I did was I really just went through my recycling bin. The things in there were just destined to go to be recycled. And I thought it'd be okay to reuse them to make a boat. And I'm using, and you're going to use your mad engineering skills to make your own boats and see which ones float and which ones don't and what you have to change to make it float better. So I have a water bottle. I have, this is a container. It's just from lunch meat, I think. I have a juice box. I bet some of you like those. And I have some tin foil. So these are all things that you can use to make your own small boat. First, I do want to show you to make a sail. You're just going to take a triangle very easily with your hole punch 2 holes like so. Can you see that? Let me go against my black shirt. There you go. And you're just going to thread your straw in here like so. And there's your sail. Okay. And you could decorate that if you wanted to. But also with the tin foil, you can, kind of loud, sorry, but you can manipulate this and fold it up and you could make a simple boat just like this, kind of like a raft or lifeboat that's on many of the bigger ships. Like so, okay? We're just kind of hollowing it out like so. And that could be your boat, just like that, okay? So I'm gonna move these out of the way. I'm gonna show you some of the different boats that I made last night with the same materials so that you can see and give you some ideas. I don't wanna do like every single one because I want you to use your imagination and what you have at home and come up with your own boats. So let me move that out of the way. I also had this is a plastic shoebox that I had, and I just filled it up with water. So let me show you that. I'm gonna move my screen actually down. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, I'm gonna be really careful with this water just because I do have books and I have a computer next to me. So I don't wanna spill my water on either of those things. But I did wanna show you. So I have this is just a shoebox, a plastic shoebox, or if you have a little bit bigger, it's fine. I just filled it up with water. When you're done, always dump out the water. You don't want water sitting around, especially if you have younger siblings, it's not safe. So just make sure you always are responsible with water. And I'm just going to make this fun. I have some food coloring. Ask your grown-up if they have some. If you don't, it's clear water's fine too. But I'm just going to make this a little fun, and I'm going to put a couple drops of my blue food coloring. So this looks like water. This is kind of fun just to do by itself. So let me see if I can pull that up a little bit so you can see. We're going to kind of swirl it around. I need my straw. Let's see. And we're just going to mix it a little bit. And now it looks like blue water, kind of fun. Like so, okay. There we go. And let me show you my different boats. So first of all, we have the tinfoil one that I just made. I'm gonna pop that in there. What's really fun too, I borrowed some Lego minifigures from my son. He was very nice to put them even in life vests so that they're safe on the water. Okay, so they're gonna go, we're gonna pretend this is the water taxi and their family, and they're going. So we're gonna put those in. And if you have a bunch of these, you could see how many minifigs or pennies or whatever you have, other figurines, blocks, Legos, whatever. And you could try to see how many you could fit in your tinfoil boat until it sinks. That would be kind of fun. So let's see, I'm going to show you some of the other ones that I made using recycling. And I have not tested these to see if they float or not. So you can help me to see if they float or not. This is just an empty juice box. I used the duct tape to seal the hole from the straw. So if I didn't, what would happen? Just like that ship that I showed you that had sunk, the water would eventually fill up the juice box if I left the hole open, and it would sink as well. So then here's the same little sail with the straw. Ready? Let's see if it floats. That's so exciting. Yay, I made it so it floats. So that's your goal with these boats, is that you can put them in water. You could even fill up your sink or your bathtub as well and float these. You could do it during bath time, which would be pretty fun. So yay, so that floats. So I've got a little fleet here going. So then here's my sponge one. I just made a hole in the middle of the sponge. I would definitely recommend that being something that a grown-up helps you do. And then the sponge, what do you think happens to the sponge when it goes in the water? Is it going to be saturated with water? It probably will. So will it float forever, or what do you think is going to happen? So let's put that in, and that floats. Oh, I can see it. Can you see it? It's filling and it's going down. So I don't know if this would be like your best type of material to make a boat that you were actually on, because it gets saturated with the water. Here, I'll pull it up and you can see that this is now, it's now pretty, it's turned kind of a bluish color. So that's okay. So next, let's see how we should take the sponge out. Like I said, I'm being really careful. If I was outside doing this, I wouldn't be as careful, but I have a computer to record this class next to me, and I have library books. So the next one that I made is, this is just the water bottle. And again, have your grown-up help you cut a hole. I just covered it with some decorative tape so that you could see it a little better, but I did cut a hole in this. And I think my minifig people are going to have to go in there for a little ride as well. And pretend they're in the harbor looking at different ships. I'm just gonna move this up a little bit. Let's see if that floats. I have not tried this yet. It does. Oh my gosh, I thought that it was going to turn around, but it does not. It floats really nicely. That's awesome. Everything is awesome, right? Okay, so we're going to let our minifigs just enjoy their time floating around. I'm going to move this out of the way. I don't want to spill this. Okay, and that was so much fun. I can't wait to hear about what you create with your recyclables or materials that you have at home. Get creative, see what you can find and what you can use. Always, like I said, ask a grown-up before you use something, just in case. But let's talk about some book suggestions about boats and ships so that you can learn a little bit more if you would like to. And you can visit the library, or you can go online, have your grown-up help you go online and put these on hold. These are all books that are here at the library. So we talked a little bit about the Chesapeake and visiting the Inner Harbor. I really enjoyed this book. It's Visiting the Chesapeake Bay by Kathleen Connors. And it's part of our Exploring the Chesapeake series. So this is actually Inner Harbor. And I was like, oh, that's exactly where I was. So that's exactly where my son and I were traveling all around, and it actually extends over here on the Chesapeake Bay, or I'm sorry, in the Inner Harbor on our water taxi. But there's lots of different information about the history of the bay, why it's important to protect and saving the bay. So we talked a little bit about that as well. So if you want some more information about the Chesapeake Bay, I highly recommend this book along with the other books in the series. So that's very fun. Also, since we are making, move this away. I improvise. I always use boxes and things again, and this is a great little box to lift up our books. So I have Paddle to the Sea. This is by Holling Clancy Holling, and this actually is a College Honor book from 1941. This is one of the older books that we have in our collection, that it was printed a long time ago, but I still find that it's a fascinating book. It's a book about a boy who makes a wooden canoe. So just the way we're making boats and canoes, he whittled it out of wood and made that. It's a little harder and complicated. If you want to learn that, ask your grown-up, but you could certainly do the same thing with your recycled boats as well. And he launches it on a journey to the sea. He even writes on the bottom of it that the boat's name is Paddle to the Sea, and to please return it back into the water. And this little teeny canoe travels all the way through the Great Lakes and up the St. Lawrence River and out into the ocean. This is actually kept in our picture books, but I would probably say that it's more like a chapter book with pictures because it has different chapters. So it's in a way, a simple book, but actually it's more complicated as you read it because it tells about all the places that Paddle to the Sea goes. That's the name of the canoe again. And it's really a magical tale, I think, that transcends time. Like I said, it was written a long time ago, but I still find it a very enjoyable book, and I know other children do as well. So I highly recommend Paddle to the Sea. It's a classic that I think you'll really enjoy. Next, last but not least, and you can see these are the Chesapeake books that I was talking about. So there's different ones of them. So when you just search up Exploring the Chesapeake or Chesapeake Bay, they'll come up in our kids section, which are really fun. So there's lots of different one of those to explore, and we might look at those individually in another class in the future. But I did want to share with you, I know a lot of you really, really, really like the story of the Titanic. I actually do have a Titanic lover here at my home, and it just went strong for a really long time, and we had to read every single book about the Titanic. So I was very excited to see some of these new books that have come out over the last couple of years on the Titanic, because even though it happened in 1912, it seems to be a fascinating story, because we all know Titanic was a huge ship, the biggest ship of its time, and it sunk because it hit it hit an iceberg. So, and what happened with the lifeboats and things like that. It's a very sad story, but it's also a very fascinating story, like what happened with the building of that ship and how that ship was sailed and run and what happened. So anyway, if you haven't read the I Survived Titanic, or if you don't know the I Survived series, I highly recommend this to especially our older listeners. It's a fun series, it's an interesting series, and it's a very popular series. Well, now they have come out with the graphic novel edition of I Survived, The Sinking of the Titanic, 1912. So if you like graphic novels, or you like the story of the Titanic, or you like the I Survived books, I highly recommend this graphic novel by Lauren Tarshish. I might say that incorrectly. I'll print it, I'll make sure I get the spelling right on the transcripts. You can always look to see that. Then there is What Was the Titanic by Stephanie Sobey. If you haven't read the What Was, What Is series, they go along with the Who Was, Who Is series. These are really fascinating books. You can really hone in on history and famous people and just interesting people and facts and things that have happened. So What Was the Titanic is another good one to read about the Titanic. And then this one is really brand new, and the series is pretty new. It came out, I believe, within the last year or so. It's History Smashers by Kate Messner. These books, I like reading them. I find them really interesting and fascinating. This one is on the Titanic. And it's got some myths in it, and it solves some of those myths, and it's a great book, and it's got some really neat, it's got some graphic boxes in it, but then it also is the story as well. And it even has, as you can see, some real pictures of the passengers of the Titanic and pictures of the Titanic and stuff that I actually hadn't seen before, and I thought was really neat. So there is some reading for you for your summer reading. I hope that you are reading and getting credit for those books for summer reading. If you haven't signed up for summer reading, have your grown-up go online, and you can sign up simply on our website and get the app and start reading and start recording. Also, while your grown-ups online, make sure they're visiting us to sign you up for the next class in 2 weeks. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Oh, don't forget our website is hclibrary.org. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you get a chance to see some boats and ships this summer, maybe even take a vacation or a trip on one. Like I said, I highly recommend the water taxi. It's kind of fun to go on that kind of boat. So I hope you get to do one of those things this summer, or even just watch some boats out in the harbor or on the water. So thanks for joining us. You have a great day. Go make some boats out of your recyclables and have lots of fun. Take care. Bye-bye.